your league spreadsheet is useless. I was thinking today I would make a league's like plan, but then I saw this guy's video and he's saying that it's useless. Is it actually useless to plan your league? And are we all just overcooking and nobody really knows what's going to be good until it actually happens? You know what I'm talking about? Like, have you guys played a league and you cooked up like a crazy idea and it didn't end up being that good? Everyone has a plan when leagues start. They just do random stuff. A loose plan is good, but plans will change. We can't even plan. There are no tasks. I usually kind of just figure it out as I go. All right, let's see what this guy has to say.
Season is
GameCube
upon
Jonah.
us, as the Demonic Pacts League will release on April 15th. And that means that everyone and their alt is grabbing out the spreadsheets and working out their plan. But what if I told you that making a plan is completely useless? Now, don't throw away your notepad that you copied over from Faux Stream just yet. I'm not saying you shouldn't have a plan. In fact, I am making my own plan for this leagues. But there's some things you should probably know before you start doing that. But why is it that we plan leagues every time? What is it about this game mode that makes us feel the urge to map out our entire route? Well, I think that comes from the fact that RuneScape is unlike any other MMO.
It's because you don't get that many respecs and you can only choose 3 zones and you can't go into the other zones and it controls what items that you get. And so you have this extreme fear of choosing the wrong zone because you're locked out. And if you make a wrong decision, then you would have to re-roll and start over. I think that's why people want to plan stuff out, right?
We don't have classes, we don't have locked professions, which means that you can do anything in the game you want to, and you can do it all at once. There's no restrictions to what you're able to do in RuneScape, apart from self-imposed ones. But Leagues is very different. There's a lot of choices you have to make in Leagues, whether that be which regions you are going to pick, or which relics you are going to unlock. And once
you're locked into your relics too.
There is no going back. And because RuneScape players are not very good with dealing with the ability of not being able to go back, we plan. Let's have a quick look at the realm of possibilities of different player experiences during a league. Now, let's define a single player experience as a set of relics. So all your relic choices from tier 1 to tier 8 and your region choices. How many different experiences do you think there are? Thousands? Hundreds? Well, we can calculate this. So
what is he going to do? Multiply all the different choices that somebody can make and find that there's thousands of different routes potentially here with the 3 relics in each tier. So 3, what is that? 3 to the 8th, 3 to the 8th, and then you have the choices of the zones, which would be like to the another 8th, 3 to the 8th to the 8th. I have no idea.
let's have a look at the relics right here. At the very start of the league, you are going to be asked to pick one of the...
with the choices you have in the skill tree, that would be like to the infinite power or something. Because if you count one skill point as being a different build, then you could have billions or billions of different routes you could go.
Tier 1 relics, and this is immediately free options you are given. But once we get to tier 2, we get another free options, which means that in total there's gonna be 3 times 3 is 9 possibilities for our total league experience. Once we reach tier 3, that is 27, and if you multiply this all the way through, you get 3 to the power of 7 times 2 for the one tier 7, where you only pick between 2 relics. That comes down to 4,374 different relic paths possible. But that is not what defines the player experience. Because we also have region locks, and region locks is going to be a little more complicated. In Demonic Pacts, there are 10 regions in total. 2 of which are going to be unlocked for every player, which are Varlamore and Karamja, and 8 regions are available for you to
So times
choose.
4,000
you can choose
to the 8th?
up to 3 regions in total. So how many possible region combinations are there? Well, in mathematics, we have just the thing for this, and that is the binomial coefficient, which looks like this, pronounced n choose k. Here for n, we put the 8, which resembles the available regions for...
I was thinking about the binomial equation myself. I'm glad he decided to use this one, because this is like what I would have done.
For us to pick, and the k is the selection size. And the formula is as follows on the right, which is n factorial over k factorial
the
times
factors.
n minus k factorial.
You want to factor it all in.
If we plug in our numbers and do this fancy math, then we see that we get 56 region combinations possible. So what does that mean for the total amount of league experiences? Well, if we take the amount of unique relic paths we had, which was 4,374, and multiply it by the amount of unique region combinations we can pick, which is 56, we get 244,944 unique player experiences. And to paint a picture, in the previous leaks, the tier 8 relic was locked behind having 25,000 points. And how many players got to 25,000 points, therefore completing the entire player experience? 145,265. That's the amount of players that reached the 25k point threshold. That means that mathematically speaking, every single player is able to have their completely unique player experience, have their own sets of relic region combination, and there would still be 100,000 combinations left over that no one picked. Now, this math all checks out if you are throwing a dart at your screen to decide which relic you're gonna pick or which region you're gonna pick. Which, if your goal is to have fun and get to dragon rank, is a completely viable method of playing the game. But let's say your goal is to be number 1 on the league's leaderboard. You are an insane competitor and you want to be the first one to get to the maximum amount of points possible. How does this change everything we've just looked at? Well, first of all, if you're going for the maximum amount of points, the region debate is already settled. Since not all regions have the same amount of points, you just pick the 3 regions that allow for the maximum amount of points.
Kandarin, Corinne, Mortania.
That 56 is gone from the equation in its entirety. And now a highly competitive player here will also not go in blind. They will have a very good idea of which relics will put them in competition to go to first place. But even here, there's gonna be some variance. Let's say
they recently announced that all the league regions will have the same amount of points this league. Oh, so people don't min-max it as much and they just try to have more fun with it. I think that's good. Jagex definitely did a good job with that then.
Top player knows what the optimal relic is with a 95% certainty. Then what are the odds of him picking the optimal relics all the way through? Well, this is just simple maths. This person would have to be right 8 times in a row with a success rate of 95%. So if we take 95 to the power of 8, we see that the top player has a 66% chance of picking all 8 optimal relics, which means that 1/3 of the entire competition is already eliminated purely from choosing the wrong relics, however certain they might have been. But these are of course just the macro choices. So a well-educated person would have a 2/3 chance of getting their macro choices right. But now let's look at the micro choices. The pathing, the route you have to take in order to accumulate points the fastest. Which task are you going to do first? This is where your spreadsheet comes in and where the numbers get truly astronomical.
Bro, imagine like you live your whole life like this, like you're just stressing about not picking the right thing all the time. Guys, can we all just not care? Isn't it so much more fun when we just don't care as much and we just try to have fun and like we don't worry about this kind of stuff, you know what I mean? That's kind of the vibe that I'm at in my life, where I used to min-max the fun out of everything. And then now I'm looking back and realizing, man, I was not doing that right. Like when I look back, I'm like, dude, I could have just tried to have so much more fun than just min-maxing everything.
If we take the last leagues as an example, then in order to get all the available points on the board, you would have to complete 988 tasks. Now, how many different routes do you think there are to completing the 988 tasks? Similarly to our relic choices, the math is fairly straightforward, but gets really big really fast. See, for our first task, we theoretically have the option of picking any one of the 988 tasks ahead of us. So we have 988 options, and once we've completed that task, the following option, we have 987 options. This continues all the way down until your last task, which means the total number of available routes is 988 factorial. Now, this number is stupidly large. It is approximately 10 to the power of 2500. Now, for reference, there's 10 to the power of 80 atoms in the entire universe. So if we imagine that every single atom contains another universe, and every atom in that universe contains its own universe, and we keep counting up all those atoms, we would need 32 nested universes to have an atom for every possible league's route. But of course, this is not really a fair comparison, because no one is gonna do the task to max their accounts before they pickpocket a man or kill a goblin. And so let's assume that a person with a spreadsheet that knows what he's doing has a 95% chance of picking the optimal task at any point in time. Then what are the odds that this person has the optimal route for leagues? Well, he still has to be right 988 times in a row. So if we take the 95% chance of the person being right and we take it to the power of 988, we get 10 to the power of minus 23. To put this into perspective, that is about the same odds of you winning the Powerball 3 times in a row. Safe to say, it's fairly impossible. Let's say your average spreadsheet is about 50 tasks long. The route you've planned ahead for yourself for the start of leagues is about 50 tasks long. The odds of you predicting those 50 tasks accurately, if you have a 95% certainty for each individual task, is about 7.7%. And this is why your spreadsheet goes out of the window after the first hour of playing leagues. And am I saying you should stop making your spreadsheet? You should stop wearing the pink skirt and following every guide? No, I'm not, because it's fun. It's fun to theory craft. I am very guilty of it. I spent a couple of days before every league theory crafting, making an Excel. I cannot get enough of it, and I love it. But I am not tricking myself into thinking that I am doing the most optimal thing. I know very well that this spreadsheet is going out the window by the end of hour 1. But it doesn't matter, because all that matters is that you pick the regions, pick the relics, and pick the task order that allows you to have the most fun. Because no one will ever solve leagues. Thank you very much for watching.
There you go, guys.
Enjoy your leagues. I'll see you in game.
Some of you guys need to stop worrying so much about your league choices. You heard it right there. It's 10 to the power of 3 million. And you need 7 different universes to come up with the optimal leagues route. And that's why it doesn't matter. You just pick whatever you have the most fun, and you don't have to worry about any of that. You know, and he just basically confirmed all the numbers that I was thinking of. So that was a cool video of thinking about just like how useless it is, if you're like one of those optimizers, maybe you try to plan out whatever, but nobody can really plan the most optimal route. Nobody can do it. It's just too hard. So just go in and wing max it, bro. Literally just wing it. Parrot, yo, thank you very much for the 7-monther. I appreciate that. I'm winging it outside of knowing I want the KBD crossbow. Did they confirm that was a 2-handed crossbow? Just by the way, they did. Okay, so you can't run a Thorns build with the 2-handed crossbow. So I wonder what you would do with that build. I mean, obviously you go crossbow, so it always crits. Water build, maybe you go water build, like crossbow with the water build, because it has some sort of freeze, right? Oh, are you just healing yourself every time it freezes? That seems pretty good. That could be kind of fun to play. But what if my spreadsheet is the 100% correct one? You'd have to, if you win the lottery 3 times in a row, then that's how lucky you have to be to have the most optimal spreadsheet, okay? That's how rare it is. There's nobody has that. I promise.